Until now, you've seen a couple of examples of what applications we can make using Django. We've seen the Hello application in Django that can parameterize URLs that, depending on the URL you visit, can say hello to Sarah or to John or anyone in general. And we've seen the ability to use Django to add some conditions, to be able to conditionally say if something is true, render this page, and if something else is true, render another page. Now let's see and let's use these features plus some additional features to begin to build a more sophisticated web application. Something like a to-do list that maybe I want my web application to give me a list of reminders and that lets me add reminders to my list. And lets me view all of these reminders that are currently on my list. And I'd like to build this application one step at a time. So the first thing I need to do is create my application. So inside of my command, I'm going to write in python manage.py start app, and I'm going to call this app reminders. So now we can see that we have reminders as a new application inside of our project 1. So first things first, we're going to go to project 1, add this application, so reminders, comma, to separate the apps, and we're going to add it to the URLs. Let's go ahead and save that, and here I'm just going to copy that and add a comma, and of course let's just first change the reminders, and here reminders, so reminders.urls to include all the reminders of the URLs. And so now we've written the path, so we've done that, and the next thing we need to do before we start with anything is to create that urls.py file inside of my reminders application. And so from Django.urls import path, because we're going to be using the path, and from dot, as in from the current directory, import views. Now URL patterns, and here is what we're going to add. We're going to add our URL patterns. So let's go ahead and save that, and now let's go ahead and views.py. So let's go ahead and create our index function. So request, and now inside of our function, let's say we have a list of reminders that we'd like to post in our page. So let's say that the first reminder is call mom. Let's say that the second reminder is class at 8, and let's say exam on Tuesday. So these are my reminders, and I'd like to print them in my page. And to do so, we're going to return first an HTML page, which is rendered upon a request, and let's call this HTML page reminders slash, so the name is index.html, which is inside of the reminders file we'll be creating in a moment, and we'll be passing a parameter which is reminders. So that reminder is the reminder that we have right here. So now the next thing we obviously need to do is create our first templates file, and inside of our templates file I'm be creating another folder, which is reminders, the name of the application, then a new file which is index.html. Now inside of my index I'll be creating the head and the body. So I'll be naming my page reminders, and I have that parameter or variable which is tasks that I can use. So how can I loop through tasks? So as I've said, we want to have a page that gives us all the reminders that I have inside of that HTML page. And so I'd like to add these reminders in a list. And let's say I want to add them in an unordered list. So to create an unordered list, we use the UL tag. And now I'd like to add a list item for each reminder. And so what I really want to do is to loop over this list, which is reminders, to look into all the reminders inside of it and create a list item inside of for each of these reminders. And before we used to use the if statement in the previous video, and likewise we'll be using the for loop in order to loop over that list of tasks. So the way to do that is adding a for. So for reminder, in reminders, in our reminders variable, so this is the variable that we've passed on, and this is a new variable that we've created, which is an item inside of our reminders list. And so for reminder inside of our reminders list, we're going to create a new tag, a list item tag, and inside of it to print that reminder. So we'll go ahead and close that, and so that's how we do it now. And here you can see that we ended our for loop by adding an and for statement inside of curly brackets and percentage signs. So now if I go ahead and save that, and we have to add that path of our function, our index function. So this is the default path, not adding anything. So we'll be going to use that index, and let's give it a name of index. So we have our urls.py, we have our views.py, the function, and we have our template, which is right here. And now we can go ahead and run our code. So in order to do so, I will be typing python manage.py run server. So I'll be copying that link, and now I copy it to here. Let's add reminders to go to that application. And so now you can see that we have now a list which has those list items, those reminders. Now let's go ahead and just make it a little bit good looking. So let's just add here reminders and a h1 heading. So that would make our page much good looking. So reminders, and then that reminders. And so we can remove those dots in two ways. We can either change this to an ordered list, and we can do something else, which is having a for loop counter. So in the for loop of Django, we have something called for loop.counter, which is going to give us the counter of the loop. So for the first reminder, this is our first loop. For the second reminder, we are in the second loop. And so I'll go ahead and saving that, and we can see that we have now 1, 2, 3, although we have the bullet points because this is an unordered list. So we can just remove them actually but I just wanted to give you an example on how to put these numberings, these counters, using that for loop.counter and without having to add an unordered list. Okay, so let's just remove it for now. And so this is my page, and we're going to see in the next video how to add additional pages to that page.